Karen, did you just go inside that vault without disarming the alarm again?
Ooh, listen, I was so excited to get into the next episode of the podcast that I just couldn't help myself.
That's alright, but now it's time to lock in.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm always locked in.
Now you know full well you be in your own world, girl.
Not really. I really just feel like...
Nah, you be in La La Land.
You love to say
nah.
that. My name is Carrie Ann Jaffard, and I am your lovely host.
And I'm Terry Vale, your esteemed co-host. Welcome back to Meba Unlocked. Today we're unlocking the latest exhibit to debut the Meek-Eaton Black Archives Beyond Black Beauty.
When I tell you that this exhibit was a labor of love, emphasis on the labor.
I'm telling you, man, we've been working so hard, but it really came together. I can't even hold you. So my favorite exhibit has to be The Crowns by Sandra Miller. All those beautiful black women in there with all their beautiful black hairstyles. Like, oh my goodness, they're so beautiful.
All right, Terry. How are you going to go on and on about your favorite section when our audience doesn't even know what Beyond Black Beauty is yet?
I'm sorry. I would have thought they were tuned in to our Instagram page, FAMU Black Archives, where we post everything about everything that's going on in the museum.
And okay, now that you guys have done that, let's dive into a first for this museum. A full exhibit that takes up both floors. And that's because it's made out of 4 different panels revolving around one central theme.
So on the first floor is the Black Archives African American Doll Collection. It shows the evolution of dolls as racial relations mix.
And first of all, do you know how hard it is to find black dolls? Like, it's crazy that we have such a big collection of dolls just sitting in our vault unused.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the vast distinction in the caricature of dolls versus dolls actually made for black children, like the Cabbage Patch or the Dr. McSnuffins dolls.
And after guests move from the doll collection, we get into the legacy of Miss FAMU, a pageant combining beauty and brains on the illustrious Florida A&M University campus.
Dr. Kimberly Brown Pullum co-created this concept with the exhibit curator, Timothy Barber. Her research from her latest book, Black Beauties, African American Pageant Queens in the Segregated South, helped add an extra layer of history to what most people would see as just dresses or tiaras.
And that didn't seem to be flawed by a personal lens, because I learned that she was a former Miss FAMU herself, on top of being a well-respected history professor on campus. Please don't ever play with her credentials, but when I asked for a quote from her...
Come on, J School at work. Yeah, J School baddie.
J School the best school.
Well, here we go again with that. Science and technology is the best school. We the best.
Said nobody ever, but you know what? I'll let that slide. Anyway, Dr. Brown Pelham said, just as the Smithsonian showcases the gowns of the nation's first ladies to illuminate the values and expressions of a nation, we are engaging in the same important work through the lens of our institutions and lived experiences. The beauty traditions highlighted in this exhibit are a vital part of Black history, documenting the ways in which Black women have shaped public identity, claimed space, and redefined standards of excellence. Too often, historical narratives focus solely on struggle, but our celebratory productions, our pageants, our coronations, our cultural expressions are just as essential to understanding Black life.
Well said. I gotta go buy that book off Amazon right now.
So another important part of Black life is our hair.
Oh yeah, you would know a lot about that. You be coming up in here with a new hairstyle every week you be coming in here with a new hairstyle.
Wow.
Edges laid.
Okay, listen, I have to be, the office Barbie. What are we talking about? My hair is an extension of my personality. And Black women's hair have been politicized, spoken on, criticized, praised, appropriated, literally everything, everywhere, all at once.
Which is why on the right side of the second floor features a photography exhibit by Sandra Miller called Crowns, My Hair, My Soul, My Freedom.
Crowns showcases the full range of what Black women can do with their hair, showing different hairstyles, colors, textures, accessory, literally from braids to afro puffs to colored wigs.
That's right, and they are all on set on vibrant backgrounds infused with detail. It's like when you get closer, you see more expression. So it kind of begs you to stand there and fully take in each portrait.
You know that Angela Bassett helped him with that book?
Nah!
I know! Isn't that crazy? So, and finally, on the left side of the second floor, that section is dedicated to Steve Allen, an artist whose work has appeared in the Olympics not once, not twice, but 8 times.
You know what they say, 8 times the charm. Oh, no? Okay.
Okay.
But anyways, Steve Allen works in an art form called Afrofuturism that uses various geometric shapes, patterns, and textures juxtaposed with bright colors to express Black identity and freedom.
You know, for Steve Allen to have no formal art training, you know, he worked as a copier at Xerox in California for years before officially becoming an artist. And now his work is not only at the Smithsonian, but it was also graciously donated to us. So that's really beautiful, you know?
I find it so funny how he said that he would quit working at Xerox because one day the boss wasn't talking to him right. So he gave him his job back the same morning.
I know, that's right. You know, Kendrick already told us that you could do all things through spite. When we return to Miba Unlocked, we're going to get a little personal with it, with some interviews.
Ooh, who we interviewing?
What did you like to know? Be right back.
It's Black Women's History Month, and the Meek-Eaton Black Archives has officially opened its latest exhibit, Beyond Black Beauty. In homage to the aesthetics of beauty in Black culture, Beyond Black Beauty is a love letter to the ideals of womanhood from childhood to adulthood. Crowns, My Hair, My Soul, My Freedom is a photography book by Sandra Miller that currently lays on display, but come May, it may be on your coffee table. With anonymous bidding, the book is on silent auction to all visitors. Simply fill out the title card with your information, write in your private bid, and slide it into the deposit box. The highest bidder will be announced live on the Meek-Eaton Instagram page, FAMU Black Archives, on Monday, May 5th, 2025 at 12 o'clock noon. All proceeds will go to support the Meek-Eaton Black Archives.
Welcome back to Miba Unlocked with your hosts Terry Vale and Carrie Ann Jafar.
Before the break, I teased a special interview. It's going to be me interviewing Terry.
Oh, we couldn't get a special guest on here or something? Like,
oh my God.
Like,
oh my God.
I'm sorry. I just wasn't prepared for this. I'm shy.
I thought you would.
You know, I'm a little like.
But I thought you
I'm
would.
a little shy.
But you know, you're the host of a podcast, so I don't know why we're lying right now. Like.
But okay.
Okay, anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, today we are also interviewing the talented, kind, and amazing Johana Marie-Williams. Miss Williams serves as the project archivist on the 3rd floor of the museum, known as the Archives. She usually catalogs collections or helps students with theses and other research that needs primary sources. Johana, how are you feeling today?
Pretty good, excited, a little nervous.
Why is everybody nervous? I just feel like, guys, I'm going to ask the right questions. I'm going to use my comms degree for good, you know, Scout's honor.
Oh, you were a Girl Scout? I didn't know that. Like,
well,
you
no.
selling cookies out there or something?
Well,
you got some on deck.
Okay, so first question. Terry, did you play with a lot of dolls when you were younger?
So I didn't play with a lot of dolls when I was younger. I had a lot of girl cousins around me. So what we do is that I bring my action figures and they bring their dolls and we'd all play with them all together.
Okay, and what about you?
No, that definitely sounds like me and my siblings. We had dolls, we had action figures. We basically had a whole drama department. So we needed every type of doll. We're looking for diversity.
So you guys were putting on plays.
We're putting on whole productions.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a soap opera in the bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with the Beyond Black Beauty exhibit, do you feel represented? Or a better question, how does this exhibit make you feel? We can start with you, John.
I mean, one of the things that makes me feel is, I wish I had even more diversity in the dolls that we had. There are so many dolls that existed, but, you know, as we discuss in the exhibit, were still hard to find at that time. At the time I'm thinking of is the 90s. There were black dolls. They were becoming more and more popular, but they were hard to find. They were more expensive a lot of the time.
Right.
So my mom was super happy anytime she could find a black doll, but a lot of times those were collector's items, so they weren't even the ones that we were allowed to play with because they were so rare and so hard to find. So it's just like, oh wow, this is really important, and I'm really glad that kids have the diversity that they have today.
Yeah, and I bet those collector's items were like extremely expensive. So of course your mom would not want you to unwrap that. So what about you, Terry?
So I'd say that this exhibit definitely makes me feel seen. Like I've never seen boy black dolls, if that makes sense. Like I've never seen one of those in my whole entire life. So when they're on display, I was like, wow, this one kind of looks like me. Like, hold up. Like, where was this when I was growing up? And so I'm really happy that they're representing not only, dolls for girls, but also, dolls that look like us, like black men, black guys.
And I am so glad that you brought that up, because when it comes to black boys and like the toys that, society tells them that they're allowed to play with, I don't think dolls are truly included inside that framework, because it's just considered too feminine. But in this exhibit, we saw male dolls that were featured, like the My Buddy doll, which, unfortunately got phased out because Chucky and Child's Play got way too popular, so the sales went down. But My Buddy was marketed towards, like, white boys. So as a black man, Terry, how do you feel about the conversation surrounding dolls, race, and gender?
So I definitely feel like you said, like the doll market in general and My Buddy included was directly targeted towards like white individuals, like white people and things like that. And so when they came out with the black My Buddy, it didn't get as much, shine as the regular My Buddy doll, if that makes sense. But how do I feel personally about the conversation surrounding dolls, race, and gender? Like, it's fascinating to see how it's all come along in these past few years, and more representation coming out for black individuals, more people playing with black dolls, not only black girls and black boys, but everyone, you know what I mean? Right. And they're coming out with different races of dolls, like if it's Asian dolls, Indian dolls, things like that, just more diversity in the dolls. And I know, at least for my children, I'd like them to not only play with white dolls, when they're growing up, but just play with something that looks like them to make it more relatable.
Right. So, Johana, when you think of the history of pageantry, did black women cross your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think I came up when black beauty pageants and black participants in beauty pageants were getting more and more prominent. Like when you're starting to see like the Miss Universe contest, and so you would see black women get higher and higher in the ranks as we're getting older. Whereas before, that they were there, but often eliminated very early in like Miss Universe or Miss America, things like that. In fact, I was pretty young when the first black woman won Miss America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was Vanessa Williams, right?
Right.
And she won in like 1984, so that's 3 years before I was born. And Vanessa Williams is still a staple in black community, in black celebrity. So, basically, when I was growing up, the community was having conversation about how the wider world is beginning to recognize black beauty. Right. At the same time, to some extent, beauty pageants were looked down on, right? Because, the question is, as black women, why are we only valuing ourselves or primarily valuing ourselves for our beauty and using that as capital or exchange or as a way to gain status, as a way to say, look at me, look at what I'm doing. So there was that tension in amongst black women as well. It's like, yes, we want to be recognized for our beauty. We should be recognized for our beauty because we're beautiful. But what is the cost of being recognized for our beauty and fighting to be recognized for beauty by outside people? Is that a way of like taking away from our accomplishments? I think what you'll see with a lot of the Miss FAMU winners and participants, that their goal was to balance that, to show themselves to be intelligent, industrious, and yes, beautiful as well.
Right. The whole damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
We're still holding it well, as always.
As always.
So, and coming from FSU as undergraduate, and then you went to FAMU for grad school, and now you're working here in this institution. How do you feel, learning about the legacy of Miss FAMU?
I grew up here in Tallahassee as well. So I grew up around FAMU, going to homecoming parades, going to games, just in the Tallahassee black community that participates in FAMU culture. So it was always important to me. Everything that went on at FAMU was important, including who won Miss FAMU, who was class president when my older sisters were on campus, those kinds of things. Being on campus as like an elementary schooler and watching all of the college students walk by and be like, one day I'm gonna be here. So I don't know. It's the legacy. It really is this legacy of like you said, balancing everything, balancing all expectations and rising to the occasion. Excellence with caring, even as a student, showing yourself to be, Black excellence. That's really what the legacy of Miss FAMU is to me. And I think we can talk about all the different ways Black excellence is complicated, but the reality is it's also something we just do well. So it's nice to see the complications, but also recognize the ways our community has shown up. Just with excellence, with beauty, with care, with industry, and with power.
Period. Amazingly said. So my last question, this is for the both of you. Terry, you could go first. Okay. Who would you recommend to see this exhibit?
So, of course, I recommend all FAMU students to come experience this exhibit as it is. But also, if you have any younger siblings or any siblings that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, invite them out to see the exhibit as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in the connection between what we're taught as children and how that plays out in our lives, so if you're interested in children's play, the history of children's play, and the history of children's relationship to beauty standards, then this exhibit is a beautiful microcosm of that conversation, particularly in the Black community and as it shows up on FAMU campus.
Amazing, amazing. You see, you guys, that was not that bad. You guys answered those questions amazingly.
Whew. Okay. So let's ask you some questions now.
Unfortunately, we are all out of time. Thank you to our special guest, Johana Marie-Williams, for coming down to the vault and unpacking your history with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It wasn't that bad, but I will hold some questions for you for next time.
Next episode. And thank you so much to our lovely audience for listening to episode 2 of MEBA Unlocked. We hope you all mosey on down to 445 Robert and Trudy Perkins Way to experience Beyond Black Beauty at the Meek-Eaton Black Archives.
Be sure to tune in for next Monday's episode where we'll discuss sports and HBCU culture with the origins of a well-known FAMU speech, When the Dark Cloud Rises.
Until then, spread the word about MEBA Unlocked. And also, follow our Instagram page at FAMU Black Archives for updates on episodes, exhibits, and events, or explore our website, MEBA Digital, at www.famu.edu/MEBA. Bye!